السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكر له على تفضله وامتنانه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. أما بعد. أيها الأحبة, in the previous lecture we mentioned that how the Muslims, after a period of strength and glory, turned against each other into a period that is one of the weakest periods for the Muslims in the land of Andalus. This period is known as the period of the Taifa states, the states of Andalus. And how many states were there? This is our lecture for tonight. Ikhwani fillah, after a great period of strength for the people of Andalus, the period of Abdurrahman al-Nasir and his son after him, the Muslims, ikhwani fillah, they started fighting amongst each other, as we mentioned in the previous classes. Initially they divided into 7 regions, then became 22 regions. Every single area of Muslim Spain and Portugal are saying that they are a state by themselves. And every leader amongst those 22 leaders, they claim that they are Amirul Mu'mineen, they are Khulafa, they are leaders of the believers. So I find a city like Cordoba, Ishbilia, Zaragoza, Valencia, Badajoz, Granada, all these cities from the cities of the Muslims in Andalus, 22 states, the size of a country like Kenya, 600,000 square kilometers. Muslims are divided into 22 different states. Each state has a king or a leader who claims to be the leader of the believers. He has ministers, he has ambassadors, he has a treasury, he has a budget, he has an army. So that's the first state. The Muslims are divided into 22 states. The second thing, ikhwani fillah, later it will have been proper for them just to be content with ruling their own area. But the Muslims started fighting their fellow Muslims in different states. Look at how the Muslims became weak in Andalus and understand the same mistakes that we make in history keep on repeating. So you find the Cordoba fighting Sevilla, Sevilla fighting Badajoz fighting another place, Valencia fighting Zaragoza, and so on. The Muslims are fighting amongst each other. 22 states, they are fighting amongst each other. Sometimes the Muslim wants assistance to fight his fellow brother. Look at the Karitha, the tragedy that befell the Muslims. So they want to get assistance to conquer Badajoz or to conquer Cordoba from their fellow Muslim brothers. What do? They go to the Christian states of Aragon or Castile or Leon, the northern states, and they seek help from the Nasara to fight their fellow Muslim brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, la tattakhidhu al-yahuda wal-nasara awliya, ba'duhum awliya. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Says, O believers, do not take the Jews and the Christians as your allies, as your friends, as your companions, especially when in time of warfare. Whoever does that, he is one of them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the defiantly disobedient oppressors. So these people, ikhwani fillah, they start getting alliances from the Christian states to fight amongst each other. This is the period in the year 403, 407, 422 onwards. The 5th century of the Muslims in Andalus. Number 4. The Muslims, ikhwani fillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, قاتلوا الذين لا يؤمنون بالله ولا باليوم الآخر ولا يحرمون ما حرم الله ورسوله ولا يدينون دين الحق من الذين أوتوا الكتاب حتى يعطوا الجزية عن يد وهم صاغرون. The non-Muslims, they're supposed to pay to us jizya. Muslims, you're supposed to pay zakah to the treasury. It's divided into the 8 groups. The non-Muslims are supposed to pay jizya. This was the history of the Muslims of glory. They used to be paid protection money, jizya. But this century, we Muslims are the one who are going to the Christians, to Castile, to Leon, to Barcelona, to Aragon, and we give them money so that they do not harm us, so that we are protected from them. We become the people paying jizya. And ikhwani fillah, when they're going to pay jizya, like the leader Alfonso VI, he will insult them. He will spit on their faces and laugh at them and collect the jizya, the wealth of the Muslims. And the Muslims will say humbly, we are just your servants. We are there to collect the wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for you guys. So this was the state of the Muslims in the land of Andalus, a period, ikhwani fillah, of disgrace and humiliation. And all this disgrace and all this humiliation, if you look at the very first reason, it's because we fight amongst each other. The civil wars, the infighting, people are fighting over tribal affiliations. They forget the power of La ilaha illallah, and they forget the brotherhood that is the brotherhood of Islam. Ikhwani fillah, when you are divided like this, O Muslims, definitely tragedies will befall you. Ikhwani fillah, one of the tragedies that befell the Muslims in this period, northeast, there's a place called Zaragoza. Zaragoza. So the leader of Zaragoza, he feels the Sakaratul Maut is coming. He's about to die. And it's different, our times and their times, as we mentioned previously. Their times, they could tell death was coming even a week before, 2 weeks before. But us in our times, just come out of here, someone has died. Our time, because we are in the end of times, we get Mautul Faj'ah, we get the sudden death. But those days, those guys, them days, they used to, a number of them they used to be prepared. So this leader of Zaragoza, he's about to die. 22 states in Andalus. Look at the craziness of the people of the time. He says to himself, I am to leave this land to my eldest son. My oldest son is the tradition, I should give him the land. But I have an issue. The younger son he produces more children or more sons. I think I should also give him a chance. What do I do? So he decided, this land of the Muslims, let me divide into two. I divide it into two. One son takes this side and the other son takes this side. And he thinks, mashallah, I have done justice to my children. I've just justice to the sons. The army is divided, minister divided, government departments, everything, half. Okay? He dies. After death, the two sons, brothers, blood brothers, they meet. And they say, this land over here is mine. The other brother says, no, it's mine. And they start fighting over a small parcel of land. So one of the brothers thinks, my brother is becoming too much. I'll go to the Christians. I'm in southeast. Southeast, if you look at the map, the kingdom of Barcelona, Aragon, is just next to Aragon. I'll go to the Christian kingdom of Aragon and seek his help. The ulama tell him, that is a mistake. These people will come and take over your land. He says, no, I don't care. Even if I'm just the leader, ceremonial leader of this land of Zaragoza, I don't mind. So he goes, he seeks the help of Aragon, and Aragon comes to help this brother to fight his own brother for this land. Minkum man yuridu dunya. Some people don't want this dunya. So these people, they have no akhlaq. They have no character. They enter the land of the Muslims. They massacre. They rape. They pillage. They run like barbarians they are. One of the tragedies that happened in the land of Zaragoza is the tragedy of Barbashta. They come to the city of Barbashta and they besiege it, the kingdom of Aragon and that brother. They besiege it for 40 days. The Muslims of Barbashta are crying to their brothers and their sisters, please assist us, we are fellow brothers. We are asking you, La ilaha illallah, save us from this Nasara, save us from this calamity that's going to befall us. All those 22 states minus 1, 21 states, no one stood up for their fellow brothers. No one supported them in any form or any means. And this land, after about 40, 50 days, the gates were broken and the Christians, the Nasara, managed to enter Barbashta. And in one day, as mentioned by Al-Haqut Al-Hamawi and another scholar, they say at least 40,000 to 100,000 Muslims lost their lives in one day in the land of Barbashta. 40,000 to 100,000 massacred. Number two, they started raping the women. Muslim ladies, pure ladies, they started raping a daughter in front of the father, a wife in front of the husband. And they chose 7,000 of the most beautiful Muslim ladies that they could get, 7,000 virgins, and they sold them to Constantinople, to the Roman kingdom, or the Eastern Byzantine kingdom, or the Eastern Byzantine Empire. 7,000. It didn't stop there. They went to another city called the city of Valencia. You know Valencia? Valencia is the city of Muslims. They entered Valencia and massacred 60,000 Muslims. 60,000 Muslims lost their lives. All this time, people are not supporting each other. They are continuing to pay jizya to Alfonso VI. Alfonso VI, the king of Castile, is the overall powerful leader of the land of Spain and Portugal. Everyone is paying jizya apart from Portugal. The kingdom of Batlios, it's led by a strong Muslim man called Al-Mutawakkil ibn Aftas. He refused to pay jizya completely, and he was highly respected for that. The Muslims in this period were not poor. They were wealthy beyond wealthy. For amongst the examples in this period, in Sevilla, the state of Sevilla, Ishbilia, there was a person called Al-Mu'tamid ala Allah ibn Abbad. He was ruling this state. One day his wife, look at the israf, the Muslims rich. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that if he wants to destroy a people, أمرنا مترفيها ففسقوا فيها فحق عليها القول فدمرناها تدميرا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he wants to destroy a people, he makes them engage in israf. So this man, Al-Mu'tamid Allah ibn Abbad, the leader of Ishbilia, his wife looks outside, she sees people playing in the mud. Then she wishes to play in the mud. She says, husband, I want to play also in the mud. Husband said, no, you're the wife of the ruler. You cannot be like the commoner. I'll get for you special mud. So he purchases the most expensive soil or sand he can find. That's not sufficient. He mixes it with misk, the most expensive perfume. He mixes it with amber. You know, amber is the most expensive perfume in the world. It's gotten from the sperm well. He mixes it with amber. Not sufficient. Also the rose water. He mixes such a concoction and he gives her, this is mud for you, play. So the lady plays with the mud for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. She gets bored and she moves on. It's just a phase, it passed. Later on, when they lost the kingdom, this lady tells the husband, Mu'tamid Allah ibn Abbad, like women, some women are, says, Wallah, you've never done anything good to me. You've never done anything romantic for me. He says to her, what about the day of the mud? Have you forgotten the day of the mud? The lady looks down in shyness and she keeps quiet. This was the israf, the Muslims rich, ikhwani fillah. That is the loss. We lost Zaragoza because of the two brothers. We lost Valencia. Then ikhwani fillah, in the year 478 of the Hijri calendar, an even bigger calamity befell the Muslims of Andalus. What is the calamity that befell the Muslims in the year 478 of the Hijri calendar? Ikhwani fillah, we lost the city that is in the middle of Andalus, the city of Toledo, the city of Toledo. This was the capital city of the previous Visigoth Empire and the first capital city for the Muslims in Andalus. A city in the middle of Andalus. How can a city in the middle of Andalus be conquered and be taken from us or Muslims? In the city, in the middle. Any country to be conquered has to be conquered from the borders towards the center. There's no way you can come and conquer. There were no helicopters, there were no paratroopers, there was no Apaches or whatever those days. There was nothing like that. How did the city of Toledo fall? One of the kings, you know, even the Christian kingdoms, they were fighting sometimes amongst each other. So one of their kings was expelled. He lost the battle to his brother or to his relative or something. He ran to Toledo. He was welcomed to the city of Toledo. He stays there for 9 months. The leader of Toledo, he takes his Christian brother around, shows him all the places of Toledo, the beautiful palaces, the splendor that the Muslims are living in. He shows them all the rivers, all the gardens, all the farmland. So 9 months, he studied the entire land of Toledo. He's their guest. They have to honor him as the tradition of the Muslims is. So after 9 months, he gets an opportunity. He goes back to his kingdom and he manages to reconquer his kingdom. And the first thing he does after reconquering his kingdom, let us go and conquer the city of Toledo. I already understand it completely. And he conquers the city of Toledo and the entire Muslim world, not only in Spain, over the entire world. They're shaken by this event. How can the Muslims lose the city of Toledo? And we lost the city of Toledo, the center of Spain, in the year 478 of the Hijri calendar. Yet the Muslims are there. You find every Muslim leader calling himself Amir al-Mu'mineen, the leader, not of only that small space that they have, that's the size of maybe Nairobi or Central Province, a small province. They call themselves the leader of all the believers. Al-Mu'tamid ala Allah, the one who depends on Allah. Al-Mu'tadid ala Allah. One of the poets of the time, he says, Wallahi, mimma azhadani fi ard al-Andalusi. The thing that irritates me most about Andalusi, alqabun adhima kal-mu'tadidi fiha wal-mu'tamidi. People are calling themselves mu'tadid, mu'tamid. He says, kal-hirra يحكي انتفاخا صورة أسد. Like a cat, it's what does a cat do? It like gets angry, it puffs up, it puffs, then looks like a lion, but in reality it's a what? It's a cat. Says this is the thing that irritates me the most. So we lost the city of Toledo in the year 478 of the Hijri calendar. Meanwhile, the Muslims are still pledging allegiance to the Christian kingdoms. They're paying the jizya, they're giving out Muslim money to these people. Then Yuhanifillah, Alfonso VI, he sends his ministers and his ambassadors to collect jizya from the land of Sevilla. So he comes to Sevilla. The leader is Al-Mu'tamid Allah ibn Abbad. He says, bring the jizya. He says, okay, we have already prepared for you, we're waiting for you. This is the gold, the silver, the diamonds, the rubies. This is the money you want. He says the second request. We have a second request. He says, what's the second request? Listen to this request, Qanifillah. He says, the wife of our leader, Alfonso VI, she's giving birth soon. And our priests have said that if she gives birth in the largest mosque of the Muslims to a son, we will conquer the lands of the Muslims. She's open, he's not even hiding anything. This Yahudi minister says, the queen, the wife of Alfonso VI, she's giving birth soon. Our priests have said, if she gives birth to a son in the largest mosque of the Muslims, then we will be able to conquer all these lands for Alfonso VI. So we're asking you, or we're telling you, that the queen shall give birth in the great mosque of Cordoba, the largest mosque. Says, what is this story? You guys want money? I've given you money. You want more money? I give you more money. Al-Mu'tamid Allah, he feels the ghira. He feels, now this is, you guys are going past limits. What do you guys want? Says, the wife should give birth in your largest mosque so that we can conquer you. Look at the insult. And they don't care. They're very open. Says, no, that one I can't accept. Then the Yahudi, Yuhanifillah, starts insulting the king. Starts insulting Al-Mu'tamid Allah Abbad. Al-Mu'tamid Allah ibn Abbad gets so irritated, so angry that he's losing face in front of his ministers, in front of his fellow employees, and he kills the Yahudi minister. And this is something, Ghanifillah, that repeats a lot of times in history. You'll find many leaders, when Allah is insulted or Prophet Muhammad is insulted, let us talk, let us have a discussion. This is not a proper way. No. But if they're insulted, how they react when a king is insulted or a president is insulted, then no, return back our ambassadors, embargo, we're not going to do any business with you. They're so separate. These two reactions are very strange. When Allah is insulted, the Prophet is insulted, and where they're insulted, they're completely different. So this man, he reacted so angry, and he killed the Yahudi minister. And he sent the head and the letter to Alfonso VI. We are not paying the jizya, and we are not going to allow you to give your wife to give birth in our mosque. No way. If you want to fight, come, we fight. So Alfonso VI, he comes to Ishbilia. Ishbilia is the south of Spain. So he has to cross many Muslim lands. And all the Muslims are just looking, they're going to attack Ishbilia. It's a problem. It is their problem, it's not our concern. Our land, our family, our businesses, that is our concern. What happens to our fellow Muslims elsewhere is not our concern. So he reaches Ishbilia. He besieges it. He surrounds it for months and months. He's not able to conquer it. With a great army of maybe 50, 60,000 soldiers, then the flies of Ishbilia start irritating him. So he writes a letter to Al-Mu'tamid ala Allah ibn Abbad, says that the flies of Ishbilia, they are irritating me. If you wish, send me some funds so that I can cool myself from these flies. This was the letter he wrote to Ikhwani Fillah. Al-Mu'tamid ala Allah Ikhwani Fillah, he just took that same paper and he turned it around and he wrote one line Ikhwani Fillah, and the entire army of Alfonso VI went back to Castile. One line he wrote, and the entire army went back. They did not attack Ishbilia. They did not fight. They went back. The entire army went back just because of one line. What is this one line, Ikhwani Fillah, that he wrote in this letter? And what are the events that happened thereafter? This is what we shall look at in our forthcoming lecture tomorrow night. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.